What's up guys, Dan Frullani here and welcome back to a new video. This is not my first video 2024. I've done another one that you probably haven't noticed because it wasn't about cameras but rather about lights. Because I got some new awesome lights. Anyways, what do I talk about today? If you already know me and my channel, you should know that I've been looking for a substitute for my Canon R6, mostly for two reasons. Number one, I want a camera that doesn't overheat, and with a Canon R6 it's a kind of an issue. And also, I would like to be able to shoot 120 frames per second in 4K, good quality. I have been considering switching to Sony. However, the new cameras Sony put out don't convince me completely. And for what concerns the awesome A7S III, which still rocks, yeah, that could be an option if I really wanted to switch to a different system. But considering that I own Canon lenses only, and I noticed that when using a Canon lens on a Sony camera with an adapter doesn't really work out. Let's say adapters are not really reliable, so I will be obliged to sell all my lenses and buy Sony lenses if I wanted to use the A7S III, but I don't think I'm gonna do that. So, going back to the overheating issue that I experienced with my Canon R6, there is to say that for now the issue is gone because it's winter, but the problem will be back next summer, for sure. However, it doesn't affect me too much. What do I mean? That when I do my professional works, I shoot 4K 60, but the R6 is not the only camera I use, it's not the only camera I bring with me. So I alternate with whatever other camera I bring with me. That could be the Canon 90D or the Canon R7. So even in the summer, when it's really hot and I shoot a little bit of 4K 60 with the Canon R6, then a little bit with the Canon R7 to take different shots, different angles, and the R6 doesn't have enough time to overheat. The issue is present pretty much when I record my YouTube videos at home, like here in my studio, but only when I record 2 or 3 videos in a row, recording 1 hour straight or something, like in 3 different videos or even more. So for now, I decided to keep my Canon R6. However, even though I can't shoot 120 frames per second, not in 4K, and the 120 frames per second on the Canon R6, it's not the best. So it's not only in 1080, but I don't like its quality. But okay, I can do 4K 60 and I'm good to go for now. The issue shifted to my second camera. When I work and do my things for videos or photos, it's not always ideal to have a full frame camera and a crop sensor camera as a second camera, as a B camera. Even if I want to shoot from a different angle, from a different point of view, I often have to calculate what it would look like. A 35mm, for example, on a full frame, and then on the R7, a crop sensor camera. And also, a crop sensor camera gives me not only a different field of view, I can match that somehow, but I would get a different depth of field, that's for sure. So now I'm looking for a full frame B camera to substitute my Canon R7, at least for my works. So I was considering the Canon R8. In the beginning, I thought, well, it's not bad. Full frame, 24 megapixel sensor, great autofocus, just like the Canon R6. It doesn't overheat, it's smaller than the R6 and smaller than the R7. Okay, but why does it cost $1,000 or euros less than the Canon R6? Well, as I said, it's lighter, smaller, but I've also noticed that it has a different battery, much smaller. That means it doesn't last long. It's not like the LP6 of the Canon R6, but rather like the battery of the Canon RP. Therefore, the battery life rather poor. Also, it doesn't have stabilization. I'm talking about IBIS. So I always say that IBIS doesn't matter. It's not something important for video making. But considering that the camera is very small and very light, not having IBIS may result in having very shaky footage. I'm sure the electronic stabilization does a good job, but it's not the same. But let's say that's not something important for me. Okay, but here comes the deal breaker. I love shooting with my Canon R7, even though it's not a full frame camera. That's the only problem for me, because as I said, I want a camera to match my Canon R6. So it has to be a full frame. There's nothing wrong with the R7, just I want a full frame. And I shoot in 24 and 60 frames per second. And sometimes in 120 frames per second, because it's surprisingly much better than the 120 frames per second of the Canon R6. Considering that both 1080 when shooting high frame rates, that's surprising. But I prefer shooting 4K anyway, so I use 4K 60. Okay, here's why the Canon R8 cannot substitute my Canon R7. Yes, I can get the same field of view and depth of field if I use the same lens with the Canon R6 and the Canon R8. Yes, I can use the same C-Log or C-Log 3 on both cameras. Awesome. But if I want to do slow motion, I'm not gonna shoot 120, or I believe it has also 180 in 1080p. I'm not gonna do that. But here's the thing that I do on the Canon R7 and I could never do on the Canon R8. The R8 cannot shoot 4K 60. As I told you, here's the deal breaker. And by the way, check the links in the description to see all my gear stuff and things, my gear, and check the link to that's changed. Check the link to Artlist, where you can get awesome music and great sound effects for your videos at a very affordable price, and they're awesome. Before I wrap it up, hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. I'm sure the Canon R8 is a wonderful camera, but if you want stabilization, if you need stabilization for your videos, that's not for you. If you want a camera you bring everywhere and that you can rely on it like all day with just a couple of batteries, that's not gonna happen. Because I said, small batteries, less time shooting. If you want to shoot low motion, you have to deal with 1080p, no matter if you shoot 180, 120 or 60 frames per second. And I'm sorry, but in 2024, 1080, no. So we'll see. I'm gonna have to wait for new cameras. And considering that Canon is gonna put out the Canon R5 Mark II and the Canon R1, we just wait and see. Cause for sure, the price point of these cameras will be like, expensive. I'll just wait and see if it'll be worth it. But for now, I'm gonna stick to my Canon R6 Mark I and my Canon R7. And that's it for today, and I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, smash the like button and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys the next video. Oh yeah!